What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Another episode of Seahawks Now. Brought to you guys, of course, by FanArch. My name is Levi, and let's get into today's biggest Seahawks news. Today, the Raiders reportedly called and asked about Kenneth Walker. Is he available? What could a potential trade look like? Should this trade even happen? We're going to discuss. Plus, I have another wide receiver that I think the Seahawks would be wise to look at for the second, maybe third round of the NFL draft. And another former wide receiver, Hunter Renfrow, wants to come out of not retirement, but he didn't play last year. He wants to make a return to the league. We discuss if the Seahawks should be interested in Renfrow. All that and more right here on Seahawks Now, but let's begin. There's reports that the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, who already came in and took our old head coach, they took our quarterback, Geno Smith. I say took, they traded for him. And apparently they also were interested in Kenneth Walker the second, K9, as he's referredly called in Seattle. Is this even a possible trade? I don't think so. I don't think the Seahawks are interested in moving off of K9. Of course, it makes sense that Pete Carroll would want him on the Raiders. Pete Carroll has always been a big K9 fan. He obviously coached K9 for a couple years here in Seattle. He knows him. He's worked with him before. He knows he's a good player. He knows he's a hard worker. And he knows that Pete Carroll likes to have, good, strong running backs. That's kind of a big element of the Pete Carroll offense in the past has been he wants to have that strong running game. The Raiders, right now, their running back is Alexander Mattison. Not exactly the, best running back in the NFL by any means. So, yeah, it makes sense that they would be interested in Kenneth Walker II, but I don't think that Seattle is interested in giving him away. I don't think that is something that, that the Seahawks are even considering right now. I don't think they're interested in that at all. And yeah, I do obviously, I see why K9 could be potentially considered available. Obviously, the Seahawks already traded away DK. They traded Geno. Maybe people are like, well, the Seahawks are open for business. I would say not so fast. I don't think the Seahawks are necessarily open for business. I think that they had to make a couple of calculated decisions for a couple of players who were asking just a little bit more money than the Seahawks thought they were worth. And so they did make those business decisions. They made those calculated decisions. They made those trades. And I do think it actually has worked out in the Seahawks' benefits, but I don't think the Seahawks necessarily, need to go out and do something crazy like tear it all down. This is not a rebuilding team. This is not a team that is trying to tear it all down. This is a team that, they have the ability to compete next year. But if they traded K9, then I think the ability to compete kind of goes away. You kind of lose some of that competitiveness when you trade away one of your best offensive skill players. I think we've talked about this before. The Seahawks are trying to run kind of that spread offense, that West Coast offense, and a big part of that is having a really strong run game. We've seen the 49ers do this. We've seen the Rams do this. The Seahawks want to do it themselves. This is kind of our version of it. Last year, Clint Kubiak, he had Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. And if not for Alvin Kamara, that offense would not have looked the same as how it did. So I think he really wants to have that running back core between K9 and Charbonnet, two guys who can really pound the defense. I don't think the Seahawks trust that Charbonnet can be the number one guy. So yeah, I would say the Seahawks probably aren't really even interested in this Kenneth Walker trade stuff. What would it take to trade Kenneth Walker? Probably it would take another third-round pick, maybe even a second-round pick, maybe a fourth-round pick, but I don't think so. I don't think I'm trading him for a fourth-round pick. The problem is the Raiders already gave us their third, so I don't see what they're going to be trading. One of the mock trades that I saw was suggesting that the Raiders could send a sixth-round pick in exchange for Kenneth Walker, which in that case, you don't even answer the phone. I wouldn't even answer the phone for a sixth-round pick. That's Kenneth Walker's worth more than a sixth-round pick. I think that's been made very clear. So yeah, I would say I'm out on the Kenneth Walker trade talks, and I don't think it's going to happen. All right, I want to talk about a wide receiver target for 2025. Jaylen Nowell could be a second-round steal for Seattle. Nowell, wide receiver draft target out of Iowa State University. Jaylen Nowell, really kind of a low-key guy. I think, he kind of shared the targets in Iowa State. He was one of two wide receivers who really popped off there. I've seen a lot of mock drafts projecting him to go in the second or third round, and I think he'd be a perfect fit in Seattle. Taking a look at the numbers, 1,194 yards last year, 80 receptions, 8 touchdowns, 14.9 yards per reception, and he went for 85.3 yards per game. So for a college receiver, those are really good. He was technically the Iowa State Cyclones' #1 receiver last year. Had a great season. Obviously, Iowa State almost made it to the college football playoff for the first time ever. They did make the Big 12 championship game for the first time in, I think, 100 years, something crazy like that. So they had a really good season over in Iowa State, and Jaylen Nowell was a big part of that. He played a big role on that team. Anyone who goes for over almost 1,200 yards, that's worth paying attention to. 85 yards per game. And he's a nice deep play threat, 14.9 yards per reception. I really like that number. So I'd love to see Jaylen Nowell in a Seattle uniform. I think he can make a big difference in this Seattle offense. Obviously, we do have Cooper Kupp. We have JSN. But I really think the Seahawks need to draft a receiver this year. I think that adding a wide receiver 3 who can eventually be your wide receiver 2 once Cooper Kupp is gone, because Cooper Kupp, he's a veteran. It's a 3-year contract, and who knows if he'll even make it all 3 years here. He is 32. He's getting older, and he's also pretty injury prone. So I think having a true wide receiver 3 would be really nice, because what I don't want is Cooper Kupp gets hurt, and then all of a sudden, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is your #2 receiver. I don't think that is an effective strategy. I don't think MVS has a really strong upside at all as a wide receiver 2. I think drafting somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round would be the move that I would go. And we do. I mean, we have 2 second-round picks. We have 2 third-round picks. So we have the ability to take a receiver early in the draft on day 2. We have that ability. We have that option, and I think we should take advantage. All right, and speaking of receivers, Hunter Renfrow is trying to return to the NFL. Should the Seahawks have any interest? Yes, veteran wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. He played for the Las Vegas Raiders, and I believe he's played for the New England Patriots as well. He's trying to make an NFL comeback. He was formerly a 5th-round pick in the 2019 draft. 29 years old. He didn't play last year at all, but he's one of the better slot receivers in the league. The Seahawks obviously already have 2 good slot receivers, but should they be interested in Hunter Renfrow at all? I think they should. Again, I think that when I'm thinking about the Seahawks situation, what I don't want is Cooper Kupp gets hurt, and then all of a sudden it becomes JSN and a bunch of nobodies out there. Hunter Renfrow obviously didn't play last year, but he's not a nobody. He is somebody who has experience. He's had multiple 1,000-yard receiving campaigns, and he would be able to seamlessly replace Cooper Kupp as a slot receiver in the case of a Cooper Kupp injury. I think the problem there would be that if you did sign Hunter Renfrow, he would have to understand he's not going to play much unless injuries happen, because we don't really need a 3rd slot receiver for this starting role. We already have 2 starting receivers who are both excel out of the slot in Jigba and in Cooper Kupp. So really, you'd be drafting Renfrow not to really play, but to be more. You'd be signing Renfrow not even to really play for you, but to be as an injury replacement. So depending on what the money is, what the interest is, I'd be interested in it. Don't think it's going to happen necessarily, but I would be interested. With that all being said, guys, comment down below. What do you think that this team should do in the draft? Do you want a receiver like Jaylen Nowell in the 2nd round? And what would your price be for K9? What would your asking price be? I want to hear it. Until next time, guys, as always, go Seahawks. We'll see you guys tomorrow.